Alaikum everybody, welcome to another Quran study. Today we'll be reading from Surah 43, starting at verse 22. Let's all seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Inherited traditions condemned. The fact is, they said, we found our parents carrying on certain practices and we are following in their footsteps. Invariably, when we sent a warner to any community, the leaders of that community would say, we found our parents following certain practices and we will continue in their footsteps. The messenger would say, what if I brought to you better guidance than what you inherited from your parents? They would say, we are disbelievers in the message you brought. Consequently, we requited them. Those are consequences for the rejectors. So, yeah, we're told, inherited traditions are condemned, and they should be, because, whether they come from your parents or your relatives or any ancestral line or however, attached, you are to them, we have to, work on, as submitters, we've had to let go of a lot of this stuff ourselves, which, some of it wasn't easy, but on another token, we're being told that God sends warners to people, and so these I think someone's on. Mashallah. Sorry about that. I lost my train of thought. So God sends, like we see in verse 23, we're told that the leaders of that community would say, we found our parents following certain practices and we will continue in their footsteps. So it would only, at this point, it could only be, ego and arrogance and maybe pride in their inherited traditions because, coming from other religions, there's a lot of, like we're told in the Quran, how different sects rejoice in what they have as far as their different traditions and their different beliefs. They rejoice in this stuff, and it's nothing to rejoice about, but what that tells us that they're very attached to these traditions, but a warner's coming to them and telling them that this is the wrong way. This path is the path that leads to hell. And especially, they come in the best possible manner, saying, what if I brought to you better guidance than what you inherited from your parents? So it's like if you inherit, let's say, in this world from your parents, an apartment or something. What if somebody came to you and told you they'd give you a mansion? Which one would you choose? So that's kind of, similar to this aspect of it, of how they're trading away their guidance for a cheap price, and then ultimately, they're gonna suffer the consequences, as we see in verse 25. So, and they've been, the rejectors. They reject, the message over and over. So it's, God's most gracious, most merciful, but He's also, as we're told in the Quran, He's strict in enforcing retribution. So after giving sufficient chances, if these people, reject the messenger, we see they're going to be annihilated. So it's just important. And even today, nothing's changed today. So today's generations, once somebody gets the message, or groups or factions of people, we see, with time, we see these people, we're going to see the consequence of their rejection to God's revelations, especially, coming with a proof, too, a profound proof and a miracle, like we have today, And it's a huge blessing, too, so that's why what makes it so bad as well is because, somebody's giving you a gift. It's not like they're giving you something bad or harmful or that would, they're literally giving you the blueprint on how to have a happy life and worshiping God alone. I mean, the best guidance, the truth, and for you to just, reject that or throw it out, it's very bad, So we see the consequences of that happening through the Quran. So, Abraham's example, Abraham said to his father and his people, I disown what you worship. Only the one who initiated me can guide me. This example of Abraham was rendered an everlasting lesson for subsequent generations. Perhaps they redeemed their souls. So, we see Abraham sets really the best, he sets the best example. I mean, all the messengers and prophets set the best examples, but we're told of Abraham's example in the Quran and how he dealt with his father and how he dealt with his people and how he disowned what they worshipped, after, giving them sufficient warnings or, messages time and time again, and coming to them with, good logic, too. Right here he says, only the one who initiated me can guide me. And it's the same case for these people. They were initiated from something, and it wasn't just, out of thin air, like some people, choose to believe, or, and they have no proof for any of that, too, which makes it so bad. We see people today just spewing falsehood or conjecture, and then even for their conjecture, they have no proof. Like we're told, conjecture is no substitute for the truth, and so, this example of Abraham is an everlasting lesson for subsequent generations. Perhaps they redeem their souls. So this is a good example, even looking back at the inherited traditions. This is really what people, every person really who wants to make it, is going to probably have to go through something like this at some point in their life, right? Because they have traditions. If they're coming from the traditional Islamic background, Judaism, Christianity. There's all these traditions, and then there's traditions within these traditional sects. So it's a lot to push out and get over, and it's it comes down to ultimately God guiding you, but you wanting to choose the guidance and choose to have everything to do with God, because if you don't, God will, if you make the decision to not want anything to do with God, or, be absorbed in this worldly life, you're going to get, God will help you in that decision, so we have to, for people who are listening, who, haven't, or maybe interested in submission, that's great. However, it's also important not to, waste time in the sense of, taking action on things we need to do. And, once we get the message, it's in our best interest, because we only have so much time to grow our souls, right? And there's only so many contact prayers we can do in a lifetime. So if you start thinking about it like that, then, it can help put things more into perspective. Verse 30. When the truth came to them, they said, this is magic, and we are disbelievers therein. Muhammad ridiculed. They said, if only this Quran was sent down to another man from the two communities, Mecca or Yathrib, who is prominent. Are they the ones who assign your Lord's mercy? We have assigned their shares in this life, raising them above others in ranks in order to let them serve one another. The mercy from your Lord is far better than any material that they hoard. So every prophet and messenger, was ridiculed at some point. I mean, even the submitters, believers, are gonna face this to different degrees, depending on, just circumstances and stuff they go through in their life. But we can see, the fatal flaw of, once again, the human being's ego, which is arrogance augmented by ignorance. And so they want somebody prominent, but that's not always how it works. They don't get to choose who's going to be a messenger, as we're told here. They're not the ones who assign God's mercy or God's guidance on a certain, or they don't decide who gets to be messengers or prophets, or who they their disobedience is evident, and it would be best for them if they just would say yes sir, when true guidance comes to them. So we're told here, the mercy from God is far better than any material that they may hoard. So even if you hoard a whole earth filled full of gold, or all the diamonds and stuff on earth, that's not going to save you. If you're on the path to hell, you can't buy your way out of this. So mercy from God is the best. Materials of this world, all that the disbelievers get. If it were not that all the people might become one disbelieving congregation, we would have granted everyone who disbelieves in the most gracious mansions with silver roofs and stairs upon which they could climb. Their mansions would have impressive gates and luxurious furnishings. Also many ornaments. All these are the temporary materials of this lowly life. The hereafter at your Lord is far better for the righteous. So this everything we see around us, even fancy homes or mansions or places we could see, or architecture, designs, materials, cars, money, all of that is temporary materials of this lowly life. So the hereafter is the real life. That's the eternity, and that's the differences are far greater. And looking back at this verse too, I remember the way I understood it, and as it was explained by the messenger, if this were the case, God wants to make the test easier for the submitters, so because if this was the case, it would probably be much more difficult, so so I guess maybe in a sense, like as submitters, like if this were the case, as we're told, so people who disbelieve, we'd see them probably like with these huge mansions and these, big estates, maybe everybody. And that's not to say we couldn't have that too, but, in a sense of looking at that stuff and then it making the test more difficult, because, obviously we have our jinn with us, Satan's after us, and he's always coming from every angle, and, he could make, the test could be harder in that sense, This is just my understanding of it, when we see this stuff from other people, it could be maybe more, tempting or something. God knows, the best, so that's what, it's an interesting verse, but subhanallah, he's most merciful, so he, thank God, for that. Invisible devilish companions. Anyone who disregards the message of the most gracious, we appoint a devil to be his constant companion. Such companions will divert them from the path, yet make them believe that they are guided. So this has a footnote. 36, and the footnote continues, but through 39. But each one of us has a representative of Satan as a constant companion. So this is people who really bad and wicked souls, who blaspheme, lie about God, and fail to repent, and are very egotistical and arrogant. They probably have very bad jinns, especially because their jinns are going to be working with them, encouraging them to say this stuff, or boast among the people, or mislead large numbers of people, so it's very it's almost scary to think about, like how these people aren't even aware of their devilish companions, and who knows, maybe some of them could even think about that, but they don't. I mean, we can see a lot of the the false messengers and stuff. I mean, false preachers, prophets, all of that, which are really some of the most evil people, because they lie about God, and they're consequently diverting people in multitude, but they also play a role in the sense of like in Surah 6, like if God willed, these people wouldn't have risen up and inspired fancy words for people to hear, but so naturally, I mean, it's the congregations, the groups of people that flock to these leaders, and they choose their message over like a true message of worshiping God alone, la ilaha illallah, but they would rather the incorrect shahada, or the falsehood, the false shahada, with Muhammad's name. And I mean, it's the same case with Jesus, so this is, this is the point, like May talking about that, these people really think they're guided, they really think they're on the right path, but they have very bad companions, and they're going to mislead not only themselves, but mislead, the people that they're, preaching to. I mean, they're preaching a satanic message too. I mean, you can't, it's the truth. I mean, God alone. I mean, nobody, even like the messenger said, nobody, I don't know if I'm not quoting him on that, but I mean, like, you've never heard of worshiping God alone in no religion. I mean, like submission to God alone, it's just non-existent. It's always some type of human idol, so I mean, even without the miracle, which is a huge blessing, naturally we can also appreciate this, in of itself, with the Quran, just of the clear, simple, consistent message. And when I say simple, it's not like simple, and like it's extremely profound and simple to understand, and it's a straightforward message. It's not convoluted or a bunch of mojo, hojo, whatever, stuff that, people, a lot of, people indoctrinate into other religions. So, mashallah. Verse 38, when he comes before us, he will say, "Oh, I wish you were as far from me as the two east. What a miserable companion. It will not console you on that day as transgressors, that both of you will share in the retribution." So we did read the footnote, and we're told here it's a miserable companion, and so even the way I'm kind of looking at this verse, and my understanding of it too, so both of them, are going to be sharing the retribution, and it's not even going to be consoling for either one of them that both of them are suffering together. That's the way I'm looking at this, because it won't console you on that day as transgressors, that both of you, so it's not like in this world, like if you're having to go through something, tough or whatever, like, or if, you played sports or something, or at work, if everybody's kind of in it together and they're working hard, or sweating, and it's not as bad like when there's other people there. But we can see the way I'm reading this verse, God willing, if it's not correct, we can talk about it. It's not going to console either one of them. That it's not going to be any type of consoling or comfort. For that both of them are sharing the retribution. So. It's and it's not going to be like that for anybody either. Everybody's gonna everybody in hell isn't gonna be able to help each other or any of that. God's messenger of the covenant. Can you make the deaf hear? Can you make the blind see, or those who are far astray? Whether we let you die before it or not, we will surely requite them. Or we may show you the retribution we promise for them. We are in full control over them. You shall steadfastly preach what is revealed to you. You are in the right path. This is the message for you and your people. All of you will be questioned. Check the messengers we sent before you. Quote, have we ever appointed any other gods besides the most gracious to be worshipped? So kind of like I was... I guess, this is what maybe I think what the way I'm seeing this is what the messenger was besides most gracious to be worshipped. So this is I guess this is what the messengers will tell these people. Like, look, we're telling you to worship God alone. There's no other gods. A true messenger and a true. Not a false messenger, because there's a lot of those out there, and they're easily identifiable by their works and stuff and what they preach. So I think this, this 438 also has a footnote about the two easts regarding the jinn. The east imply the location of the sunrise, moonrise, and the rising of heavenly bodies. So that was for this one. And then, verse 43 we just read, you shall steadfastly preach what is revealed to you. You are in the right path. So this is referring to the messenger of the covenant. The sum of the geometrical value of Rashad Khalifa 1230 plus 43 is 1273, which is 19 times 66, subhanAllah. And that's exactly, he was in the right path, because a messenger is gonna preach God alone. They're gonna be, exemplary vanguards in the religion of submission. We're told Abraham, was an exemplary vanguard, and he's known as, or the father of submission. They're going to uphold this message. They're not going to deviate from it. They're not going to compromise like we see a lot of people, like we've claimed to be these messengers, try to compromise. And so everybody too who gets this message is going to be questioned. All of you will be questioned. So every single one of us is going to be questioned. For those who have received it. What did they do with it? What did they send ahead for their souls, or what did they leave behind? How much did they advance? And how much did they regress? 46, for example, we sent Moses with our proofs to Pharaoh and his elders, proclaiming, "I'm a messenger from the Lord of the universe." When he showed them our proofs, they laughed at him. Moses and Pharaoh, every sign we showed them was bigger than the one before it. We afflicted them with the plagues, perhaps they repent. This is a common occurrence, being laughed at. But you have to be really strong too. God appoints, and He strengthens His messengers. This is also, it shows the, the honorable traits of these messengers, that they don't deviate, and they stick to it, stick to their guns, and they keep pushing forward, and we're even told here, so bigger and bigger signs especially came to Pharaoh. Every sign was bigger than the one before, and so it's kind of it makes it even worse on Pharaoh's side about his regarding his rejection of the message, because you have to be really evil or stupid or both to get a proof or a miracle and then reject it, but then you get something even more profound and more powerful, as we're told, and you reject it and you get something even more, and you really have to be set on going to hell by fighting God by doing this. They said, "O you magician, implore your Lord on our behalf, since you have an agreement with him to relieve this plague. We will then be guided." But as soon as we relieve their afflictions, they reverted. So yeah, we can see their wicked hypocrisy. They were wicked people. As we're told in the Quran, it calls them. It says, "Indeed, they were wicked people." Pharaoh and his troops and Haman, all of them. So they were just lying. It was they were really they thought they were making a fool out of the submitters and believers, but really they're making a fool out of themselves. And we can read about Pharaoh's arrogance. So it says, Pharaoh announced to his people, "O my people, do I not possess the kingship over Egypt, and these flowing rivers belong to me? Do you not see? Which one is better, me or that one who is lowly and can hardly speak? How come he does not possess his treasure of gold? How come the angels do not accompany him? He thus fooled his people, and they obeyed him. They were wicked people." Yeah, so there's that part. So kind of like what I was saying earlier. You can't feel bad for the people in a sense. Yeah, they have a leader, a very wicked leader, but I mean, he's that's also a test for people as well. Because if it exposes what they would rather believe and what is truly in their hearts. Because and God gives these people a chance to repent. It's not like they're doomed just because they're following somebody evil and misguided, but they stuck to their guns, which was really bad, which were the wrong guns, and figuratively speaking, and sided with Pharaoh against God. They probably thought they were fighting just Moses, but they were really fighting God. And we can see how he deceived his people. So this is they probably looked at him, thought he was a god, because that's how a lot of the Egyptians they were into that type of worshiping that type of pagan religion of the dead. They were all into that type of stuff. And so he obviously was very persuasive, only because these people were evil. But for somebody who could see, who wanted to be guided, they weren't going to be tricked. And we can see how there was a believing man among Pharaoh. I mean, even the magicians. And so this is also a test for people too, in the sense like what I was just talking about, how these people, his people were fooled in this way too, because, it's not always going to be somebody who has a lot of wealth or who is, super eloquent or resourceful or something. It could be somebody who doesn't come from that, but it just shows, the ego. It's also a test of the ego too, So for people, as it was discussed, I think in a study some number of months ago, it was put very good by one of the brothers, I think Brother Suleiman. But it was really a big test of the ego for people too, because naturally, in this world, as humans, we're, if we see somebody with wealth or money or power, naturally, I mean, sometimes, people think like, oh, how can this person help me or stuff. I mean, that in of itself is not good, because that's idol worship, because that person can't do anything. You know, God controls, you know, your company, the boss of your company and stuff, like the messenger says. And we have to remind ourselves of that too, you know, because it's easy to sometimes, you know, get caught up and stuff, or get caught up in the moment and not remember that. But, you know, so it's, you know, it's a test of the ego, you know, for these people. And they obviously were duped by Pharaoh. And we can see, you know, a similar case was with, I think it was Haman, it was either Haman or Harun. You know, he had all this wealth and his gold and stuff, and people, it was a group of people that it really impressed these people, you know. But, you know, we should be cautious, all humans should be cautious not to be so easily impressed, you know, especially by somebody who's in a seemingly, you know, position of power. Because you know, he's only there because God put him there, you know, and according to, you know, his plan and everything. But, you know, we can see, you know, the fooling was successful because they were wicked, you know. So the righteous, we can see you know, the believing man and, you know, the magicians and whoever else, they weren't fooled by Pharaoh. They were actually, you know, their eyes were open to the truth. Praise be to God, you know. So they were obviously not wicked people. And when they persisted in opposing us, we punished them and drowned them all. We rendered them a precedent and an example for the others, you know. Jesus, another example. When the Son of Mary was cited as an example, your people disregarded it. They said, is it better to worship our gods or to worship him? They said this only to argue with you. Indeed, they are people who have joined the opposition. You know, so, you know, I mean, even today, you know, this could, I guess, you know, you could, this example could still be set today about you know, the truth, you know, and regarding to what Jesus taught and worshiping God alone, you know. But even back then too, it was the same case, you know, how people have argued with the truth and asked these questions about, you know, is it better to worship our gods or to worship him? And I'm not sure, I guess him is meaning Jesus, or they're asking themselves, should they stick to worshiping their pagan gods or to worship Jesus? They said this only to argue with you, because I guess him would be capitalized if it was God. But, you know, whatever the case would be, they're just you know, it's not even a genuine question in the sense of them wanting to be helped. You know, it's more of you know, it seems more of they're just, you know, as the verse tells us, they're just saying it's just to argue with people. And there's people that'll do this, you know, like, that I've run across and stuff, and, you know, we have to do our best in our part just to, you know, give them good information and good guidance with wisdom, you know, that they may take heed and that they may save their souls, you know. But at the same time, it's like you don't, you know, you can't make a horse drink the water. You know, if you've led it to water and it doesn't want to drink, I mean, there's nothing you can do, and it's not your job to force it to drink either, you know. So, so with that being said, if there's any comments or questions, please feel free. Thank you.
Mashallah, thank you. Very good.
Mashallah. Thank you.
So I think yeah, what you said was an interesting point that about the religions of the there's worshiping God alone has been the one religion since God created the humans, and yet it clearly shows how this world is seen as domain that it's such a rarity to find someone who just talks about worshiping God alone and worshiping God. When you tell people that you worship God alone, I mean they just I guess it's they are waiting for you to tell them like more like who is it like really worshiping
Yeah,
can't be
yeah,
just God
exactly.
alone.
Yeah, it's like they're waiting for their human. Like, is it going to be Jesus or Mary or Muhammad?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, mashallah, I always get the same question, when you start talking about, the miracle of 19, about real Islam. And then they're asking, okay, to whom do you belong? To which sect do you belong? And who is your leader? Which leader do you follow? So it's definitely something that we hear about, actually, from almost everyone, because they got so used to that way of thinking and that way of believing, that when you tell them no, like, there is not a specific person that we are following, we follow only the Quran and only that what God has sent, and only the messengers we follow, they find that definitely strange, of course. And I want to add actually something to it as well. Last time there was this family which I had very long discussions with about submission and about the messenger, and they were so convinced about having a sect, belonging to a group of people. um, and these people also follow on social media, different types of people. And there's also a new generation, especially in the Turkish generation, on social media. They don't just follow their parents blindly. Like, the new generation is a little bit different than the old generation. Like, the generation of my father is like definitely following their parents blindly. There are no questions asked, just follow and do it, and everything that they have learned is the information that they got from their parents. But the new generation, even if their parents are like do belong to any sects or other kind of things, they just don't follow them immediately, and you can see this also a lot on social media. So what happened with these people is that, after not accepting submission and not accepting Quran alone, now they start to talk about, yeah, we don't belong to a sect, and yeah, we only follow the Quran. Like, you can see that I started seeing this more often now, especially with other people, because it makes them think about some things. They look at these people, especially these people who are very, they say like the craziest things about religion, and it's so unlogical. It's not logical. It makes no sense. So they even can find a way to, not even prove it, of course, but it's like very strange. So this is something what I see the last few months in Turkey, and also here around my, also in the family. It's something that started going on, that people saying, no, we should only follow Quran. We shouldn't follow these people who are telling like very strange stories about religion. And you, if I'm not mistaken, you started reading from 22, right, brother? 43, 22.
Yes, I did. Let's see. 43, Surah
Yes.
43, verse. Yeah, 22.
MashaAllah. And like these first verses, it says inherited traditions condemned. and they say like the fact is they said we found our parents carrying on certain practices and we are following in their footsteps. And then God, of course, gives the example of Abraham, where when he went to those people, they said the same thing, and basically almost every group when messengers were sent, most of them they were saying like we found our parents doing this and this, and we are just following, we're going on with their footsteps, and this new information that you brought us is like very strange. We found it very strange. Yeah, and we can see that clearly again, right, in most of the peoples, but also the other part, like the thing that I just told about this new generation of people who, you know, they have access to more information about other people as well, about other cultures. You know, they see these things on social media and on the internet. So it's definitely a little bit different than before, when people, the information that they only had was like either it was on TV, or you should go to the library, or you can find it, you go to the mosque and ask the imam, you know. Besides that, getting information about religion and about all the other things was, of course, not the same as in our time, when we have internet, but also social media, like a lot of people talking about it, doing discussions. You know, going to the library and reading a book is very different than, you know, using your phone and then looking up information about it. It's very different. So this new generation, maybe like that's also a way of when the messenger said that, you know, the whole world is going to follow submission. You know, that can be definitely a part of why people are going to be submitters, inshallah.
Yeah, mashallah. You kind of see that too with a lot of the Christian sects. A lot of people are, I mean, they're still, you know, messing up in a sense that they still hold Jesus as an idol, but they've broken out of that tradition since, because a lot of them will tell you now, like, you know, or people I've talked to, that they say they're non-denominational, like they're just a Christian, like, and that's it. They're not like Baptist, Pentecostal, or some other sect of Protestant or Roman Catholic or New Apostolic, you know, all these Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, the list, there's so many, you know, they're starting to break away from that, which I guess is it's good, it's progress, but you know, they still have a lot on their plate. And speaking of, I think there was this gym, or excuse me, there was a church, this huge old church. I think it was somewhere in Europe, but yeah, it closed down. Like, it was a big deal, and they converted it into like this really big, exquisite gym, like workout gym, which is pretty neat.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you ought to go look for it. It was really cool. Like, it became a really nice gym, and like, you know, that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
So we have people who are, you know, they are making jokes about it, you know, about these traditions, about these strange stories. You know, there are so many strange stories in these hadiths, like telling like stories about Muhammad, or about, you know, the companions or all the other people, like stories that are like unbelievable, right? It's and when you tell these stories, and it's definitely more easier to make jokes about them on social media than when you're face to face. And most people are there, right? Most people are online right now. So I believe it's like maybe it's going to be easier for them to, you know, when time comes, to accept like submission, because it's very logical. You know, it's very different than like if you look at the messenger of the covenant, how he speaks. You know, if you look at the videos, like the sound recordings, the things that he's talking about, you know, about education, about life, about so many things. It's like so logical and so true. It's a huge difference if you compare it to, you know, the traditional Muslims and what they are talking about. You have hadith about like, excuse me to say this, but drinking urine of the prophet, and very very strange things that people are finding like disturbing actually, and making jokes about it. And when you compare that with what the message of the covenant has taught us, and the logic behind it, it's like amazing.
Yeah, that's yeah, I remember that being shared in the WhatsApp group. I was very taken back because I think it was one of the other brothers. I thought he was joking, or not joking, but he was like, I believed him, but I wasn't sure like what he was really talking about. And yeah, it just shows and rightfully so too. These things should be joked about, or in a sense where at least it gains attention and it can bring to light the absurdity of all of it. But I have a question. So verse 58, when you're talking about Jesus's example, who's speaking? Is when they say, is it better to worship our gods or to worship him? Are they referring to? Are they acting like asking a smart, are they being real smart aleck and like saying, oh, is it better to worship our pagan gods or worship Jesus?
Yeah, that's what I think as well.
Okay, yeah, that's what I saw it as, because we would, because yeah, they said this only to argue with you, so they weren't really trying to learn anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said it's better to worship our gods or to worship him, man. So you can see like him is in small h with small h,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Mm.
I want to ask about 36. It says, anyone who disregards the message of the Most Gracious, we appoint the devil to be his constant companion. Each one of us has a representative of Satan as a constant companion. Of course, we knew this. The message of the covenant explains this as well. But it says, anyone who disregards the message of the Most Gracious, we appoint. So we shouldn't understand this as only the ones who disregarded get the devil, right? It's like we all have the companion, and the companion becomes, we appoint a devil to be his constant companion. Like, or is this something else than what we have learned? Because that's what I understand from this. Like, each one of us has a representative of Satan as a constant companion already. It's not a different one than what we have learned, of course.
Or are you talking about kind of like our initial decision, blasphemy, and therefore we get the devilish jinns or companions? Or is that what you're talking? Like every single human?
Yeah. So
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, you probably. Yeah.
So we like the messenger explains all these things, right? We have a companion, and then he has the same knowledge as we do, and then. Or you convince him or he convinces you. But in this specific verse, it says, anyone who disregards the message of the Most Gracious, we appoint the devil to be his constant companion. So can we see this as, okay, if someone doesn't disregard the message, if someone accepts the message, then they get the devil to be his constant companion.
Right, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like someone who, like Pharaoh, for example, kept disregarding, and then he got probably a really bad jinn,
But then, yeah, and then on 37, he says such companions will divert them from the path, yet make them believe that they are guided. When he comes before us, he will say, "Why I wish you were as far from me as the two easts. What a miserable companion." Okay, yeah, like that's like probably it means like exactly what the messenger of the covenant has explained. Um, but because of the text, I just still wanted to ask and to make sure. Is the question clear? Maybe the question was I couldn't ask the question clearly.
Yeah, I think what you were saying was, uh, like if the person is a submitter, I mean that's what it comes down to, right? A person who doesn't disregard the message is someone who becomes a believer. So believers don't have devils.
Um, but what about the companion? Okay, so does this mean that you have like you have your companion? Besides the companion, if you are a disbeliever, if you don't accept the message, God sends another devil to you, or does the companion turn into a devil? Like that's the I don't know.
Lost reception when you were, can you repeat your question again?
Okay, so what I said was, we will have a companion, like we put every time as a companion, like a point or some type of companion. If that third person and because he's an activity, he's guiding you toward exactly what it's for. To divert that path. Companions will divert them from the path. That's the
Yeah, so basically, how I see it is like the people who are evil, you know, people who are disregarding the message, God already knows who they are. So God assigns them the devils as their constant companions, right? But for someone who's not gonna disregard the message, God knows who's gonna be a believer or not. You know, he's gonna have righteous companions,
Right, yeah, because
not devilish companions.
yeah, because in verse 38 of Surah 4 it says, if one's companion is the devil, that is the worst companion. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so like in the sense of, when you become friends with some type of people, you are surrounded with them. So, and then if you stay with them all the time, and they do these very bad things, and they don't think about God, and like you are then in that circle of bad people. And in this case, like when you don't accept the message, then you're going to be in the circle of these devils who are going to guide you basically towards hell.
Yeah, and also remember too the messenger at how he talks about how our jinns like can become believing jinns. They may be behind us or could be even ahead of us. They can be submitting jinn. How so they if he's like a submitting jinn or a believing jinn, he's not gonna be a devil. I don't think he's gonna be not gonna be a devil. But like a real wicked person like Pharaoh, or any really really bad person is gonna have their companion is gonna be a devil. That's my understanding. on page 18. It says, many jinn companions are converted, page 18 of the Quran. Many jinn companions are converted to God's point of view by the human companions. And then on the Day of Judgment, the jinn companion serves as a witness against the human counterpart. MashaAllah.
MashaAllah, I want to, add also something which the example of Pharaoh and Moses, where, Pharaoh says in 51, Pharaoh announced to his people, "O my people, do I not possess the kingship over Egypt, and these flowing rivers belong to and these flowing rivers belong to me? Do you not see which one is better, me or that one who is lowly and can hardly speak? How come he does not possess a treasure of gold? How come the angels do not accompany him? He thus fooled his people, and they obeyed him. They were wicked people." Um, you know, like one of the things that keep people from accepting a message is that they have their own what is it called in English? They have their own expectations. They say, okay, if someone doesn't come flying from the sky, then it can't be a messenger or it can't be true. Some people, they say, like, I saw no one coming from the dead, so this means no one came no one came back to life and told us what there is, so I'm not going to believe it. There's no one who did that. So, putting your own expectations, and if it's not within your expectation, and then not accepting this is like it's basically very strange. And when you try to convince them, to explain them that to believe in something you don't have to see it, right? Let's say, yeah. So like if you don't see an atom, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? Even if you see it or you don't see it, it still exists. So it's very important not to put any expectations. Like God can also send another messenger, right? And this question I get all the time. They say, yeah, but like if Muhammad is not the last messenger and Rashad is one of the messengers, is it possible that God still can send messengers? And the answer is yes. God says that in the Quran, right? He can send still messengers until the end of the world. And when someone comes and they say that they are messengers, they need to prove that. They need to prove that they are messengers. And if you have your own expectations, right? You make your own. Of course, if in the Quran, in the Quran, God says that Muhammad is the last prophet and the Quran is the last book. So if someone comes and they say, "I'm a new prophet, I have brought a new book," that's not an expectation, of course, because it's clearly stated in the Quran. But for messengership, still the door is open, and if there is proof, like the messenger of the covenant has brought the miracle of 19, and he proved that he was a messenger of God, then of course a submitter would definitely believe in the message and wouldn't put any other expectations than what's revealed in the Quran. But I see this also a lot, with a lot of people. They have these expectations. And Pharaoh had the same expectation, right? He said, "Do you have gold with you, or the angels didn't come with you?" And I think even if, like...
Yeah, that's a good point.
Come with angels, even if he would have brought, like, so much gold, still, I think they would... Because he brought a lot of... miracles, right? He showed a lot of miracles to them. So that wasn't enough, that many miracles.
Yeah, mashallah, that's a good point. Yeah, like expectations, are it's true, I mean, we can have expectations. So, like, if my expectations would be that they would have to we know, the criteria of a messenger, but Yeah, I mean, it just shows, yeah, Pharaoh's expectations was like very incorrect and wrong and out of this world, and it just showed the evil, I guess, in his heart, too. Are you, I don't think we can hear you, brother.
You're talking to me?
Okay, now we can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I hear a lot, like a lot, they say, yeah, but we don't see Rashad's name in the Quran. Like they say, like Muhammad was prophesied. You can read that in the Bible and here and there, and Moses was prophesied. This was prophesied. Every time when a messenger is sent, they have been prophesied in previous scriptures, like when you look at the Quran, of course, like specifically, let me see, it was even this where it's like the sum, I believe it's 43. If you shall start with, or we may, and then he's talking of the God's message of the covenant. It starts with 40, right? Can you make the deaf hear? Can you make the blind see, or those who are far astray? Whether we let you die before it or not, we will surely requite them. Or we may show you the retribution you promised for them. We are in full control over them. You shall steadfastly preach what is revealed to you. You are in the right path. And in the footnotes it says the sum of the geometrical value of Rashad Khalifa 1230 plus 43 is 1273.90. So this is like the proof that here God is talking about Rashad Khalifa. It says this is a message for you and for your people, all you will be questioned. So, like their expectation is probably that in the Quran it says, "Oh Muhammad, after you, we are going to send a messenger whose name will be Rashad Khalifa," right? Like, and then he will show them a miracle which has to do with the Quran, and it's going to be based on number 19. Like, is this your expectation? Like, would you have believed in Rashad when there would be a surah, a verse in the Quran talking about him like this? Wouldn't that be strange that a lot of people are going to be called Rashad Khalifa? When people in Turkey, for example, after the Second World War, people had to decide what their last names would be because they had this change in names, right? After the Ottoman Empire was gone. So people gave themselves their last names, right? And then you could easily say Khalifa and then give, like everyone would have given the name Rashad. Because today, most of the people, if I'm not mistaken, right, the most common name in the Islamic world is Muhammad. Like everyone knows Muhammad. There are from every 10 people, maybe 2 or 3 is called Muhammad, I think, maybe even more.
Yeah, like the messenger said, there's going to be more Muhammads in hell than
yeah,
you remember
right?
that? Yeah.
So, and then imagine that Rashad comes and he is like showing them the evidence, talking about the miracle 19, like still people who are destined to hell, they are going to find excuses, they are going to find other things not to believe, even if there would be a verse where God clearly says, after you, Rashad Khalifa is going to come, he's going to show them the miracle of 19, and then, and then you should follow him, for example. But still, they would find different ways because
Yeah, mashallah, they still wouldn't even believe in that, That's
yeah, because like even don't believe in a simple verse where God says, when you pray, don't do it too loud or don't do it in quiet, like do it in between. Even this very simple verse where God gives a very simple, right? Like extremely simple command, and still they don't follow this. And yeah, like I asked so many people. I asked the imams in a mosque, like when I asked them. I said, "Look, this is the verse. Why do you different than what it's stated in the verse?" And then they start, of course, yeah, but Muhammad was he taught us how to pray, and he did it in this way and in that way, and so it's not going to be any different, even if we had all these verses.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, I mean, it's really about expectation. It's just the excuses people make when they don't want to believe, you know. and they're like their devil companion, you know, also, for example, helps them in coming up with these excuses and these ideas. But like God says, you know, even if we give them a ladder, they climb into the sky and everything, they would say that our eyes have been bewitched, you know. So they would still not believe no matter what, because they were evil people. They were destined to not believe when the truth comes, you know, because that's just the way they are. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as like, you know, people, you know, making such demands, like, for example, until we see angels and stuff like that, that's not going to happen because, you know, that when that happens, the whole test would be, you know, concluded because, you know, they have to believe in the unseen as part of the test.
Yeah, mashallah. In 48, you know, God says to Moses and Pharaoh, every sign we showed them was bigger than the one before it. We afflicted them with the plagues. Perhaps they repent. And they said, "Oh, you magician, implore your Lord on behalf. Since you have an agreement with him to relieve this place, we will then be guided." But as soon as we relieve their affliction, they reverted. Like, this is so amazing. You know, they are asking him, right? They are asking Moses, please ask your God to, you know, help us. And the moment that he helps them, and then they revert immediately.
Right. Yeah. I think I find that example very funny when you said there's going to be more Muhammads in hell.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
These jokes.
Yeah, mashallah,
Yeah, and then
that's true about the unseen. You know, that they have to believe in the unseen. Like it says in Surah 2, they believe in the seen and the unseen. Mashallah.
that's right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so, Dropper, you mentioned something about people changing their names at the end of World War II. Why were they changing their names?
Because, you know,
It's a bit of a tangent, but I'm just curious.
they're like in the time of the Ottoman Empire, people were moving. They didn't have man many names, their own names, then the name of their father, and then the name of their father's grandfather, and then so on. So that was the same case with Ottomans. Like, you were always. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, so they didn't have like last name. They had their name, then a list of names which were father's names and parents' names. So when Atatürk came, and there was this after the Second World War, or the First World War, I'm sorry. So they went to a republic. Turkey became a republic, and then there was this law about, you know, names, and the writing changed as well from Arabic letters. Basically, not Arabic actually. It's Farsi alphabet to
Yeah, now
Latin alphabets.
I can hear
Sorry,
you. I couldn't
and still not. Can you hear me now? Yeah. So I'll repeat what I said. So in
Yeah,
the
I can hear you now.
Yeah, so in the Ottoman Empire, we had these, we didn't have last names. You had your own name, and then the names of your father, the grandfather, and then the father of your grandfather, etc. It kept going on like that. And after
Oh, okay, I see.
yeah, so when Turkey became a republic country, they the alphabet changed from Farsi alphabet to Latin. And also, they brought this rule about all the people need to people people who have chosen this name, other people name, but people know that I want covenant, and that person, other people will see it, telling, yeah, there are so many.
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up, brother Jaffer.
Yeah, is it me or is it everybody else? I can't hear Brother Jaffer at all.
I couldn't hear Jaffer that well either. Like
I
he would
can't
cut
hear
in
you.
and
They're
out.
breaking up.
Oh,
Inshallah.
oh.
Not really. It's
Oh,
kind of
really?
okay. Now you just came through.
Okay, okay. So I don't know what you
Yeah,
guys
yeah, we
heard.
can hear you now. You sound good.
Okay.
We heard that they changed their name because previously they had their fathers and grandfathers' name after their first name, and now they had to choose after the Ottoman Empire. They had to choose their own last name.
Yes, right. And I gave this example because like the people, they, if you have the right to give you your own last name, you could easily choose Khalifa last name, right? First, your God would say like after Muhammad, Khalifa.
You're breaking up again, brother.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Yes, very bad.
Again? Okay.
Yes, yes. Okay, so yeah, I mean, this is pretty interesting. I mean, about all the Muhammads being in hell. I just can't stop laughing just thinking about all the Muhammads. You know, I mean, especially in Pakistan, you know, everybody's Muhammad. You know, every person has a first like.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's almost like they're, I don't know why, like even before hearing about Islam, I always wondered why there was so many, like they were all kind of named similar, like Muhammad or something. I wonder if that they were trying to be righteous or something, or think it would bring them closer.
Yeah, it's like in the U.S. like nobody has the name Jesus, you know.
Right. Yeah, like you know, like they're actually pretty like in a sense. If you were to name somebody Jesus, you'd probably get like scolded by Christians. Like you shouldn't, you know, because they think he's too high. Like oh, nobody should be called Jesus other than Jesus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they don't. I mean, there's actually I think there was a guy I worked with Jesus, but his name was pronounced Jesus. So I was saying
Jesus,
it wrong.
yeah, Jesus,
Yeah.
that's common, you know.
Yeah.
That's common among like, the Hispanics, right?
Yeah. He was right. He was Spanish.
And if you think about it, it's the same thing with them too, you know. A lot of people that are named Jesus are gonna be in hell too.
Right, exactly, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was this one Spanish guy, one of our truck drivers for the company I work for. Like, I think I told you the story, but he wanted me to get tamales with pork in them, and his name is Moses, you know, and I quit calling him Moses. I called him Moises or whatever, like not to, or I ended up calling him, I think, Robert or something, like, by accident, and he didn't even say anything, but yeah, his name was Moses, and then I was like, man, like, you shouldn't have that name. But yeah, no, I ended up talking him out of it and getting like turkey tamales. But yeah, he was very insistent, and I showed him because he was a Hispanic Christian. But then I showed him in the Bible where you're not supposed to eat pork, and then he was like, "Oh, that's the old." And I was like, "No," I said, "If you actually believe in the Bible, you have to believe in this too." And then he, that's
Right.
what they're common, but yeah. Yeah, they usually say, "Oh, it's the old law," that's not the new law. But I tell them, Jesus literally said, word for word, "I came not to abolish the law, but fulfill the law." And he even expounded upon the law, and went so far as to say, like, same thing what the Quran says, like how you should lower your gaze. He went to the children of Israel, he said, don't stare and commit adultery with your eyes, because previously there was just adultery. So I mean, he not only like fulfilled the law, he went expounded upon it. And when you tell them that, they were like, "Oh well, that's just I don't know." They always go back to Paul, because the Apostle Paul will tell you to break the law and says it's okay and that you're saved. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to.
Yeah, but I think you don't see any Jewish people with the name of Moses, right?
No, I haven't met any Jewish people.
Like, if I'm not mistaken, because I've worked a lot,
Their name David.
is Moshe Moshe another name for Moses? Maybe Moshe.
Musa?
No, Moshe.
Oh,
Like, there are
Moshe.
so people, they call them Moshe, and I always
I like mochi, the Japanese ice cream.
Yeah,
Sounds like that.
Mochi.
I remember now.
Yeah, that
Doc
sounds
Moses,
like
who was
yeah.
the doctor when my wife gave birth to my daughter. We went to the city where you have a lot of Jewish people. The hospital was there, and the doctor's name was Moses.
Oh,
So they
but he wasn't Jewish. He was Jewish.
he was a Jewish doctor, yeah.
Uh,
And the nurses were also Jewish. Like, I saw this woman came, and then she had a, what's it called, headscarf, and my wife thought she was a Muslim. She was a Muslim, but I knew, because I'm still saying the city is like a lot of Jewish people are there, so it's very popular, and we do a lot of projects there. So for many long years, so those are like Jewish people, and his name was like Moses.
yeah, it's something rare. I guess. I'm supposed to. Oh, I.
Are there any off-topic questions from anybody? Okay, so if there's no,
Yeah.
oh, Brother Suleiman.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, I didn't really have like an off-topic question, but I just wanted to mention that, mashallah, right now I'm on my way to see Brother Okte and Hassan and Brother Abdullah.
MashaAllah, that's
Just
awesome.
just missed my exit.
MashaAllah.
Turkey.
But yeah, it's really
Inshallah.
nice.
But you then, when are you leaving? When I'll be in Turkey on Wednesday until Saturday
Oh,
next.
Wednesday. Oh, well, no, I'm leaving the day after tomorrow.
It would be amazing if we could meet also in Istanbul.
Yeah, I mean, if you came early, we could meet. Yeah.
But I could, like, Wednesday is the first possibility, and then we'll stay in there until Saturday, inshallah. And then, but I'll try to see Brother Abdullah in Okta, inshallah.
Yeah, here, everybody thinks I'm Turkish, and everybody talks to me in Turkish. Like,
You look
I
like
was going to the terminal airport too. Yeah, and this guy was like, policeman. You know, he started talking to me in Turkish. I was sorry, I couldn't understand. I was like, English. He was like, oh, it's like your face. He pointed at my face. He said, face looks Turkish.
maybe you are, brother.
Yeah, maybe you are Turkish.
Maybe you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, mashallah, brother. You're a handsome guy, so being Turkish would fit you.
Yeah, inshallah, you guys should come and meet us in the U.S. too someday.
Inshallah, brother. Inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Maybe we'll go to Netherlands too one day.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, mashallah. Inshallah, why not? I just received my green card too, so now I can come and visit you in Netherlands. God willing.
Subhanallah.
Mashallah.
Mashallah.
Alright, yes, I mean, I don't have any questions, but just wanted to share
Mashallah.
the good news.
SubhanAllah, brother, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank God. Praise be to God. That's an awesome blessing, and mashallah.
Yeah, the food here is amazing.
Yeah,
People here are very nice and polite. Amazing to see.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Your food looks incredible.
Yeah. And I think I gained some weight. And also, people are really, you know, one thing that I think definitely I find amazing about Turkey is how people are actually genuinely kind to the animals. Like street animals, you know, like there's dogs and cats on the street, and they are looked after by people like they would for their own pets, you know. Like they give them food. Like anytime you go outside, you see like people have left out actual like dog food, cat food, and water bowls for the cats and dogs to have available all the time, and you won't find any of those bowls like empty, you know. They're always filled with food and water, you know.
Subhanallah.
So nice.
Istanbul also a very busy city, like so many people, and the people from Istanbul, they are aware of, you know, how important cats are actually for the city. Also dogs, of course, but like cats are extremely important, or else you would have like a lot of mice in the whole city. So they are aware of this. And if you can remember, there's this discussion in Turkey about these dogs. You know, they just wanted to catch them and kill them. So, and then people protested to it, you know, extremely. And then, you know, they took a step back, but they really wanted to do that. And one of Sister Gamze from the Turkish Studies, they did some. I don't know if it was exactly in Istanbul, but they found a old some kind of a shelter area and then they build these things there, and now, and they send me these videos of that one as well, where they saved all these dogs, so people are aware of how important these animals are for everyone. Actually, God created them, but He created them, of course, also for a reason, right? There's a reason why you have these dogs and these.
Yeah, subhanallah. I mean, they're more civilized and kind. I mean, intelligent than the humans. You see, like they're so polite. Like if they want food, you're eating food. I mean, they're not gonna like come and try to get the food from you. They sit there quietly, look at you. Wait. If you feed them, good.
Yeah,
If you don't feed them,
mashallah.
anything.
Yeah, mashallah. Yeah, I loved your pictures too. That I saw with the cats and animals.
That's
And the dog.
awesome. All right, so I guess if there are no other comments or questions, then God willing, we can conclude our study. Thank you, Brother John, for leading the study on a short notice and streaming it as well.
Mashallah.
God willing, our next study will be on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum. Mashallah.
God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.